Oh yeah, baby. We back.
We're back.
It's my catchphrase. Say it every week. Oh yeah, baby. We're back.
No.
That's new. I like it.
No. Every week I say it.
Every week. Do you say it to yourself in the mirror?
Yeah. When I wake
day-
up in the
every day
morning.
you're blessed to
Sorry,
wake up.
I meant we as in me. I say it every day.
Yep.
Welcome back to What the Podcast. I'm Ryan.
I'm John.
Together we are
Ryan and John.
on the couch as always. Cara Tafolla, my lovely wife.
Say something.
Hello.
Okay.
All right. And joining us this week on the couch as well, Annie, the Skovmand,
As well.
in parentheses, the lovely.
The lovely. Thank you. Thank you. Where's the applause button?
Pass.
Thank you.
Guys, we did it. The strike is over.
Oh my
that's
gosh.
right.
Wait, I didn't know this.
Well, it's not officially over.
Oh.
They're finalizing.
So you didn't-
it.
They have struck a deal. They are
Wow.
finalizing said deal, and this is specifically the Writers Guild
Yes.
has struck a deal.
Wow.
So
Amazing. So we could finally hire back our writers and we don't
yes,
have to do this shit
this
anymore.
show is going to be all right.
43 days later.
No way.
Should we just cut it?
so good.
Just cut it.
Yeah.
Wait.
Arthur,
Let's
stay
just
here.
start
What?
over.
What? No.
Are we
It's
cutting
only
this
one-
out,
it's
or?
only 1 minute.
Arthur!
Yeah. Arthur, come here.
Come here.
Arthur.
Come here.
Come here.
Wow. Listen, guys, if this show ain't anything but authentic,
Yep.
Hey, Jordan.
Hey.
I love the idea of us having writers.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, we record in a garage.
Maybe we should keep this in.
Oh, hey,
Totally
Jordan.
fine. Totally fine. You want to take your son with you?
Yeah, take him with you.
See you, pal.
Did you pull out to latte?
Those are
Oh,
from this
those are
side.
yours. Okay, new idea that I
ahead.
just thought of when you said that.
Go ahead.
Pilates.
Pilates. You set up
It's a Pilates class with lattes.
with lattes. Or it's
Should we? If we're gonna keep this in, you should at least say that Jordan walked
Okay,
by
that-
and-
That
'cause
moment was Jordan
you not
entering
stop
the
it?
studio.
No, we didn't stop
Nah,
it.
nah, we'll just
Oh
let it
my
roll.
gosh.
Come on.
We don't have
come
that much
It's
to
a
talk about
horrible
this week.
podcast.
on. No, of course
We
not.
have a ton to talk about. I just found out about the writer's strike
Woo!
coming up today.
I mean, once they're talking about it, it's over, which is great.
Well, it wasn't the longest strike in history.
Think of how many great things we're gonna see next year.
You know
like
what the one thing
the
I
writers are
heard
revving up now.
that they're they've already greenlit coming out of this writer strike is
Go
that
ahead.
they're gonna reboot The Office, which kind of makes me sad. a little
Oh.
bit.
Ew,
What?
Yeah, that's already something that's like fully. Gonna
They didn't need
happen.
writers for that.
Well, I don't-
Just cast new guys and do the
do
same
you mean
jokes.
they're
no,
gonna
I
and-
think
reboot,
it's like
like-
they don't know the details on whether it's going to be like an extension or if it's going to be like a full recast.
I changed my
Oh,
mind.
gross.
Writers go back on strike.
Back
Yeah.
on strike until you hash out a better idea.
Figure that out.
Right.
no.
What the hell? Ew.
Isn't it crazy that we live in a world now where when you hear reboot, like with certain shows, you're like, this is not going to be good.
I don't think. Yeah, just make new
Well,
stuff, right?
That's why certain shows stop for a reason.
yeah,
Yeah.
true.
And
That's
they
like-
had an end episode.
But there was also
Are
already
they gonna reboot Modern Family?
there was already an Office actually before the American Office.
Yeah,
Say
well,
disrespect.
but wasn't here though, so it doesn't matter.
I mean, yeah,
What a
it
bold
was
statement.
like here on the world,
It
you know,
wasn't yours, it
on
didn't
Earth.
matter. It was like insanely successful there. It's like,
No,
no.
it doesn't matter
no,
here.
no, no.
But I was saying that to John today. We were passing a movie poster for My Big Fat Greek Wedding 3.
No.
And I just said, name one good movie that's like the third of the franchise.
Toy Story 3.
You already said right away.
What'd you
without
say?
thinking Twice.
Damn.
Fast and Furious 3. I'm
Oh,
just joking.
God.
'Cause we had
Fast
so
and the
many
Furious
of them.
3. I'm honestly more of a fan of Tokyo Drift personally, but
What's that, 4 or 5?
that's 2.
2? Oh, okay.
Like,
No,
at that
actually,
point-
that is 4 because 2 is Too Fast, Too Furious.
Too Fast and Furious.
How do you know this?
I saw some of those
I thought it was
movies.
funny because like there's so many of those. And obviously,
Fast and
10,
Furious.
right?
I think I stopped
30.
watching them at like 5. I was like,
We
okay,
should
Fast
watch
5 is
all
enough.
of them.
I haven't
over the
seen
course
one.
of 10 weeks.
We should
Whatever
watch
you
them all in the span of a weekend.
We should have watched them all when I'm dead
Okay, word,
agreeance.
word.
So like what?
I
tomorrow.
am in agreement.
Yeah, can we get a date on that?
Yeah.
All right, so what are we talking about today, guys? This is our wacky podcast.
Guys,
talking
Kara
about
has
things in the
something.
news. Oh, what's that? Kara's got
Biggest
something?
thing in the news.
It's not the biggest thing. It's
Are
not-
you kidding me?
Bombshell.
History.
Have you been listening to the radio?
Bombshell.
To the radio? The fact that you
No.
said radio is a problem.
Actually, John, you were
have you
literally
been
just
listening to the radio? That is true. There's a radio in the middle of
I
the
know,
room
but I
right
don't
now.
get my news from the radio is all.
Taylor Swift.
Have you listened to the radio lately?
Taylor Swift at Arrowhead, back at Arrowhead Stadium
Whoa.
for Chiefs versus the Bears game.
I thought the Chiefs' name got canceled.
Let her finish. She was in the middle
Sorry.
of
that
it.
Sorry,
was-
just a
that
passing
was,
thought.
Let her have a
Redskins.
moment. Hey,
Yeah,
Okay, go ahead, Cara. This is your moment.
Taylor Swift seen in Travis Kelce's box with his mother. Travis Kelce is the tight end of the Chiefs.
You're talking about the stadium box seats.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
So she's with all these celebs up there.
The celebrities.
Pictures came out, videos came out. Specifically, a video
Wait, hold on.
close up of Travis's face,
Pictures.
of him looking at her and going, yeah, she's right there. And
Whoa.
it's the cutest little video ever.
Yeah.
She watches the game. She is yelling, having fun, whatever.
Okay.
They are seen walking through the corridors, like
Yeah.
the tunnels, I guess. If it's
Together.
like anything like
Together.
Petco, the tunnels.
Mm-hmm.
Together. She leaves with him.
Oh.
He has a convertible car.
Spicy.
A getaway car. if you
Okay.
may.
Relax.
They drive away. They end up going to this restaurant, which
Shake It Off Diner.
He ends up.
Denny's.
This is something that you can have a
Opinion on? Okay, word.
He goes in, tells everyone in the restaurant, "I will pay your tabs if you get out. If you can finish,
Oh.
pay your tabs, but you got to get out."
What
And
are we what
he
restaurant
did
are we
it.
talking about here?
It's like a bougie,
Like
like
the Kansas City
Pacific
Eatery
Club or something. I don't know. It was
Kansas
it was a
City
rooftop
Eatery.
bar.
Okay.
Pays everyone out.
Awesome.
Has all of his teammates and Taylor Swift's friends, and they all get to be on this rooftop bar.
Okay.
I have an opinion about this.
Hold
So-
in your heart for a second.
Just some facts. That was on Sunday football.
Okay.
This came out today.
They're married.
No,
God, that'd be so good.
this is called the Swiftie effect.
Okay.
Travis Kelce's last 24 hours.
Okay.
300,000 new Instagram followers.
Okay.
400% increase in his merchandise.
Mm.
And now he is one of the top 5 selling jerseys in the NFL.
Wasn't he already kind of a big deal?
He
His
is a big
brother.
deal. No, he's a big
He was
deal.
just in the Super Bowl last year, wasn't
but
he?
his brother won.
Yeah, but they both. That was the whole thing.
No,
is-
Travis
Right?
won.
Travis won.
Oh, did he? Oh.
Won-
Yeah,
won the
because I
Super
just
Bowl
saw a
last
video
year.
of his brother with his kids, and his daughter's like, "Daddy, you didn't win," and he goes, "I know, honey." She goes, "Uncle Travi won."
Oh.
She goes, "I know," and she's like, "I didn't want that to happen," and you can hear the mom in the background being like, "Honey, we said we'd be happy," and he goes, "Yeah, we're happy for Uncle Travi. We're happy he won," and she goes, "I wanted you to win."
Oh.
Like,
So,
Aw.
Fun fact about Jason, his brother,
Jason
has the
Kelce.
Jason
number
Kelce.
one sold jersey in female sizes. Like everybody, all the
Wow.
females are buying Jason's
because
jersey.
he's probably schmaxy.
so big
I'll be the
big
judge of that.
things. They're both born in 1989. They're both 33. This was a funny TikTok I found. Her favorite number is 13 and his favorite number is 87, which equals 100.
So you think this?
The Swifty.
His
You're saying that this
his
was like a
his birthday is
a
the
calculated
same as
move?
her grandmother Marjorie that she wrote the song about.
Okay, listen. There is girl math, and then there's Taylor Swift math.
It's
And
crazy.
Swifty math is its own different level.
It's psycho.
okay. I'm
Travis is the one on.
Travis is red.
in the red.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not the red.
Okay, I'm gonna be real. I'm gonna give my honest opinion about
Yep.
the rooftop thing.
Okay,
First
go
of all,
ahead.
it seems like poor planning. You're rich enough to have just rented a place out with ample timing.
Unless you didn't
It
know.
was to- it
unless
was to
Taylor
celebrate-
didn't
it was to
confirm
celebrate the
until-
win. If they didn't win, where do you?
Yeah, but that seems like a thing that like maybe they
you
would
have your
do.
publicist do just in case.
I mean, look, there is kind of a Taylor Swift effect going on where like now maybe he like I feel like sports celebrities, there's certain celebrities that can't like that don't get recognized in public. And then there's ones that can't go on air, like LeBron James type. Like those are like
Yeah.
more conventional celebrity, I guess. Like you can't just go to a place and hang out.
I'll be real.
Well, think
he rolled
about
up, I
Travis.
wouldn't recognize him.
Travis is the one who did it, not Taylor.
Yeah.
Sure.
Still.
I feel like if it was opposite, it would have been like that place is cleared out already by the time she gets there.
How do you like date a famous person? How does that even work? Like,
So there's been like I don't know where they get these quotes from, but on the radio
okay,
they were saying how
you down there?
how someone reported
Are you
I don't
following
know,
this Taylor Swift controversy?
someone reportedly said that they are just having fun and it's nice that they're both so focused on their careers that they could just have fun.
Yeah, that was a
together.
publicist statement right there.
Yeah.
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 Like,
Calculated.
how does one celebrity like
Date another celebrity.
reach out to date
Oh,
Okay.
another
you heard
celebrity?
the story, right?
No, missed it.
He went to her concert at Arrowhead
Okay.
and he went up to like every bodyguard, everything and was like, "This is who I am. I want you to give this to Taylor," and tried to give her a friendship bracelet with his number on it.
Ooh.
And the whole thing was that she denied because she doesn't talk to anyone. She's
Okay.
like, "I'm not going to talk to him." But now I guess they've been talking for the last couple months.
I
So
mean,
it worked.
Got to shoot your shot, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's a Super Bowl winner.
And there's videos of
I guess
him
that's
coming out
That's enough, right?
of him on an interview playing Kiss, Marry, Kill.
Okay.
And Taylor Swift is the kiss part in that. And then there's also a video
said
from
marry.
years ago
Yeah.
that was who is your like celebrity crush, your kid's celebrity crush, and he says Taylor Swift. And that's like a 15-year-old video.
Dang. Live your dreams.
Okay, I just sent you guys a picture of the brothers. You tell me which one
It's hotter.
you think is cuter. Is
Definitely Travis.
No. What? I think Jason.
No.
I think Jason's way cuter than Travis. I think on the scale of who Taylor Swift has dated in
Uh-huh.
hotness level, he's near the bottom of her
No,
hotties.
Matt Healy, are you kidding me? Matt Healy's ugly.
I don't even
Okay.
think that counted. That was like one dinner probably to discuss
if you put him up against
talking about a song.
Joe Jonas at the time,
I think they're different categories, truthfully.
Are you kidding me?
Oh, that
This
was more
doesn't-
hair. He's
Travis Kelce doesn't
better.
seem like her type.
Yeah.
Like
That's
pop star.
That's why everyone is saying it's
boy
great
band
because
type.
She's always said she wants to date outside of
The
her
industry,
work.
Yeah.
her industry.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Can
okay.
you imagine? I did see a whole thing of like, this is gonna give like Taylor Swift's gonna crumble and do a Super Bowl finally, and then I saw another thing where it was like, I can't wait for Taylor Swift's next album, and it was like, you're just a football player. I hate you.
I saw a similar TikTok where it was like, I fumbled our relation. You fumbled our relationship.
Like, you
now I'm
fumbled the
left in
ball.
the end zone. Like
Look at this.
fully out of her element.
Just look at this cute video of him.
I thought we would touch down.
It's him going, "Damn, she's right there. She's right there." And he's all smiley and it's so cute.
Yeah, I probably would
You could
too if
also be
Taylor
like,
Swift was hanging
man.
out with my mom. I'd be like,
yeah, maybe he's talking
what
about
the
his
heck?
mom.
He's
like,
like,
oh, she's right there. I
she's
love
still
her.
there.
No, that
Love you, Mom.
that mom goes to every game.
And she's still
In
there
her
for him.
freaking split jersey.
Hell yeah, love her.
It's just a weird
an
thing.
icon.
Like, I don't know. And I mean, I'm not into football. I don't know anything about football. I don't know if I would recognize him in a public place.
I would
definitely.
recognize him.
Well, you would recognize how tall he is and how buff.
Sure, I'd be
John,
like,
what
oh,
about you?
that
shoot.
guy probably
John's
plays
been
football.
silent.
You
Let's
care
hear
about
from
football,
him.
John?
In 1, 2, 3, go.
No, I mean, I don't know. I don't watch football necessarily, but I do know that I remember watching the Kelce brother face off in the Super Bowl last
Mm-hmm.
year. That was like the one thing that I felt was kind of interesting about the Super Bowl. But
Totally.
regarding the Taylor Swift thing, I mean, I'm the resident person that doesn't like Taylor Swift.
Sure.
So there's a lot of things I'm going to say that's going to be just you're going to already guess.
I think you can.
But
Now, for the sake of conversation,
Go ahead.
I think you can hang up your dislike of her and just like respond to
Sure.
like the caliber of her as a person.
I could, yeah.
Now,
Okay, sure, go ahead.
going
No, I think
Yeah,
I think
he
the
shouldn't date her
Swiftie-
because
I
her
think-
songs are
No,
tacky or
no,
what?
not at all. Not the relationship.
I don't get
The
it.
things that bother me in this.
Yeah, let's
particular
hear it.
conversation, the Swiftie effect. I feel like that's any crossover between two celebrities.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know that that's like
Sure.
like a thing, but yeah, I think they're good. I mean, I like that they're in different industries. It does kind of feel like a public, you know. Like they're just
Publicity.
doing it for like a publicity stunt is what I was looking for, and it feels like maybe because he said this on his brother's podcast, like their podcast together. So I think
Oh, they have a podcast?
yeah, and
Okay.
and he said this initially like, oh, I was
Now
gonna
you
go to
have
Taylor
my
Swift
attention.
concert, And he told the story about the bracelet. So I think they took that, and Taylor's team, being Taylor's team, was like, you should go to a Chiefs game, kind of thing, and like drum up the thing. What I didn't expect, and again, it might be because of where I am in TikTok, but a lot of people are like worried for Travis. They're like, don't date her. Like, all you're going to be is an album, her next album kind of thing.
Okay,
like,
Ellen
I've
DeGeneres
seen a lot
of
of
the
that, too.
world.
It's just funny. Like, I hadn't seen that before. Like,
Yeah.
I've only ever seen positive press for Taylor. Like, I don't really see a lot of
That's
like,
because freaking
negative
Ellen
press.
already pulled that crap.
Yeah.
Listen,
Interviewing
Ellen
That was
like
is
the
done.
Ellen
We already
interview.
canceled Ellen.
Thank God.
Ellen who?
No, I'm just saying, like, it's kind of interesting because I expected, like, what you said, which is what you're seeing, is like, oh, everyone's like, oh, like, everyone usually takes, like, whoever it is that Taylor's involved with and, like, adds them as a character into Taylor's world. But it feels like I'm seeing a lot where it's like, oh, they're kind of protective of Travis and being like,
she's
hey,
more going into
I
his
wouldn't
world.
do that, like, and the football
You know why?
world loves it, I think.
Because he's American.
Sure.
All of her past relationships.
Joe
Let's go
Jonas.
back, shall
Joe
we?
Jonas.
I was gonna be like,
Skip
holy
that.
crap, Cara,
Taylor
what is
Lautner.
happening here?
Matt Healy,
Yeah,
British.
sure,
Okay.
American.
Okay.
Freaking
Taylor Lautner.
her 6-year
American guy.
boyfriend, Joe Alwyn, British.
Okay.
Freaking Loki,
Okay.
British.
You're talking about
Tom Holland.
Calvin Harris.
Tom, whatever.
Tom
Tom
Haverford.
Hiddleston.
I have
Calvin
a-
Harris, British.
I have a opposing
Too
opinion.
much.
I think that he's great for her. I think, like I said, he's outside of the industry. I think if you try to compare her exes, all of her exes kind
all
of feel like
music.
a different version of the same person.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
Uh-huh.
this is music, Taylor's boyfriend. This is, you know what I'm saying?
Well, you go with
And-
Boy
Matt
band
Healy,
type.
Right,
Matt
you know.
Healy, Calvin Harris, Tom Hiddleston. They're all
I would've-
scrawny little white guys.
Sure. By the way,
Uh-huh.
I would have never, like, even when I know her and Harry were together like a long, long time ago.
Harry
But even when they were together, I would have said, like,
British.
yeah, this is obviously not going to work. Like, it just doesn't, they don't have, like, they're too, I feel like they're too similar, but I don't know.
Yeah, I'm,
So I
I'm
think
excited
he's
to
great.
see where
Hey, guys.
this goes to.
Ready for this one?
Go ahead.
When I met you in the summer.
Summer.
That's Calvin Harris.
Yeah, I know.
Oh, that was.
Guys,
nice.
this weekend, a little controversial for the Swifties. I'm seeing the 1975 in concert.
Matt Healy.
Oh,
Show
let
me
give
my
you a
love,
present.
though. Show me your love.
Can I
Why
write-
don't you?
Can
Can I
Controversial?
write a poster for
Yeah,
you
what?
to
Didn't
bring
his
with you?
band, like, almost quit on him or something because he got, like...
Yeah.
He's psycho.
He's
Yeah,
insane.
he's certainly a psycho, but
I
that-
can't wait to see what happens at the concert for
Yeah,
Ryan.
yeah. It's so funny because I just saw an interview of him today. He's like on a podcast. He's like, yeah, well, I get cancelled all the time, but not really, right? Because I'm not really a racist. I'm not, homophobic or anything.
Accent I've ever
Yeah, well, that's
heard.
him. That's how he
Awesome,
talks.
man.
No, it's not.
No, that was
You
great.
always
That
do the
is-
same.
Right.
freaking
So
accent.
basically,
So base.
so
That's all James
basically,
Corden all the time.
my name is Matt Ely.
I love it.
Right.
I think it's great, by the way.
Yeah.
It's pretty good.
Wait, here's what he said. I'm the 1975.
Wow, that's good.
That's what he
Do
says.
you guys know that he's a nepo baby?
Yeah.
He is.
Mr. Healy and Mrs. Healy were in the industry or something. I don't even know in what regard.
How
feel
does
like
that even
everyone's a
count
Nepo
anymore?
baby.
I was going to
Yeah.
say, Taylor Swift
Yeah.
grew up rich, didn't she? I mean, that's kind of Nepo,
Yeah.
too, a little
Same.
bit.
Well, not rich.
White.
Rich.
Okay.
Middle
How
class.
rich?
I mean, yeah, middle class, and then they
Not
bought
rich,
the
rich,
studio
just a
that
small
signed her.
business
So
loan
yeah,
of $1 million.
just a
rich.
small loan of $1 million, rich.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's fine.
Speaking of people getting canceled for
Get him. Wait,
For-
hold on. Annie's favorite podcast is done.
no, it is not.
Oh.
It brings up an interesting conversation
Pause.
though.
Okay, set the scene for us.
Jonathan Van Ness, gay icon,
Queer eye.
Queer Eye.
Is he the long-haired one?
Yes.
Game of Thrones
Hairstylist, ice skater.
ice skater,
Game of Thrones.
huge trans activist. He used to, before Queer Eye, he had a YouTube show called Gay of Thrones.
Oh,
my gosh,
Gay of
no way.
Thrones.
And they would, that's how
That's
Dax
funny.
Shepard and Kristen Bell first found him.
Okay.
And then he got the gig on Queer Eye. But he would basically like recap Game of Thrones episodes,
Okay.
Dang.
But like as a gay man.
but as a gay man.
That's
yeah.
funny.
And so he was on Armchair Expert
Okay.
to promote his multiple podcasts he has. He has Perfectly Curious, Getting Curious, and
I'm fully curious.
Something Curious.
Oh, really?
It's about curiosity.
Okay.
Yeah, and one's about
Theme is curiosity.
theme
Got it.
is curious.
Okay.
But basically, he comes on their podcast and they kind of stumble into this conversation about trans rights.
Okay.
Now, he himself is someone who identifies as queer. He says gender non-binary.
Okay.
And he says on the podcast, he's like, I'm someone who I'm not fully sure that I'm not transgender and that I'm not, meant to be female. And I've struggled with this my whole life.
Okay.
And Dax Shepard, before they get to that soundbite, that section, they kind of stumbled into this conversation because he is like really big into ice skating and he did cheerleading growing up and gymnastics. And
Okay.
they kind of start talking about the trans athlete conversation.
Oh, okay.
And Dax happens to have a more conservative view of it.
Okay.
Where it wasn't so much that trans athletes shouldn't have like the right to
It's how
participate.
you're built.
Yeah, it was about.
Yeah.
He brought it back down to an anthropological
Physiology.
This is what he
Yeah,
said.
build.
He said,
Anatomy.
I have a quote here if you let me read it. Do I wish trans women's athletes had access and can play and follow her dream? I do, Shepard says at one point in the interview. Will I elevate her rights over women? ? We're pretending that women aren't the ultimate marginalized class throughout history. And then Jonathan Van Ness responds with, I could just cry. I'm tired of fighting for little kids because they just want to be included. He then later says in the interview, I feel like I'm talking to my dad. I'm not calling you transphobic, but you can be transphobic and still have you cannot be transphobic and still have thoughts of trans misogyny and transphobic ideology and beliefs.
Yeah. So he
So
basically
Dax Shepard
Okay.
Dax Shepard was
Probably
kind of
true.
spinning it, saying don't take it away from the women
So
who have been
the
put down
issue
the whole
was,
lives.
We've talked about this on this podcast.
Sounds a little bit like whataboutism, though. Like,
Well, it's Dax Shepard was ready to debate it.
okay.
Like he fully was like gonna debate it. Like like let's talk about.
Here's
it,
the talking points.
Thinking like, oh, this is like the perfect person to like kind of juggle
Actually
this
talk about
idea and really like.
Right.
And I don't think, and you can tell in the podcast like. He doesn't come in with that. You could tell that wasn't something that they planned on really talking about, but it kind of came up. And so he starts kind of digging into it. And like it says in that clip, Jonathan Van Ness starts breaking down.
Wow.
He's
Oh
like
my gosh!
sobbing.
And some of the quotes from Dax Shepard are like
Gnarly.
intense.
Give me a particularly saucy one.
I was just reading this one. Dax Shepard said, some people are uncomfortable with transitioning to teens. They're challenging that. How do we know that person's not going to change their mind? Conversely, what if they kill themselves? Are they really effing permanent? Is that a good counter argument?
Yeesh.
Like, just like that to me is like,
Wow.
that's
Which, and that's
Right.
taken out of context. They
sure.
were-
I mean, yes.
Everything
Go
is.
listen
You
to
could
the
tell it
whole
was
thing,
kind of
but-
getting.
But that
heated.
to me tells me how serious it was. I mean, that's a
Yeah.
serious statement.
But at the same time, so Jonathan Van Ness's argument he kept bringing up is like, I'm talking about these like little kids and like these kids who want to just play sports, and you're saying basically like we need to stop it, at this point.
Nip it in the
because-
bud because if we set a precedent,
Yeah, and it's like, oh, because like
the Olympics will be
potentially
ruined.
They could do this, and then it was this whole thing. He's like, because Jonathan Van Ness lives in Austin, Texas.
Okay.
He's like, I live in a state in which, you can get arrested for putting your kid on like hormone blockers and beta
Yeah.
blockers as a child when they've identified as the other gender. But yet, if you don't put them, if you don't put them on blockers and they try to play the sport they want to play, like they
Yeah.
want to do swim or they want to dance or they want to do gymnastics, they're then going to be disqualified because they weren't put on beta
Yeah.
blockers as a child. And he's like, it's just like
Wow.
this thing where we're blocking them at every way, and no one's thinking about the kids. And he really broke down. And I was talking to some friends about it yesterday. Michael Pinning brought up this great point. He's going, Dax Shepard is really receptive, and you don't see this in that article, is he's constantly apologizing, and you could tell that they cut some of it out because he starts to go into like, I'm so sorry. I didn't want this interview to be like this. I would never want you to come in here and feel
I
like
have to listen to it.
I was questioning you or
gosh.
Yeah.
questioning your gender identity. Like, and you can kind of, you hear this like kind of abrupt cut, and then they're like back to talking about it.
Uh-huh.
So you can tell that they had more intense, like he apologized
Sure.
profusely throughout
Sure.
it, and you could tell they cut a lot of those out. But Michael brought up this great point of like, Dax is coming from this conversation of like, hey, like these people want to talk about it. Let's truly talk about like what the arguments actually are. Like this is like one argument of it, and like we want to hear from someone who's like this great activist of this community. Like,
What you're
what is
saying
the
that
truth?
Dax is playing like devil's advocate
when
to
it
a
wasn't
degree.
really necessary to play devil's advocate, or it
Well,
was.
and
I
so-
mean,
well, and then I think the reality is like, I think he's trying to voice the opinion of people who, like Jonathan says, is you might not consider yourself in like, transphobic, but you have these ideologies that you're not classifying as what they are.
okay.
And then Michael brought up a great point. It's like Dax is trying to debate it, and for Jonathan, like, this is his life. Mm-hmm. Like you're
no debating.
wanting to debate these rights that this person has to live with the result of.
I bet it didn't in Dax Shepard's like if I was in his chair with his more conservative mindset.
His armchair.
I bet it was hard when Jonathan was like, I'm not sure if I'm trans. I'm not. I bet in that that fully confused
Right.
Dax Shepard. He's like, what do you mean you're not sure?
Yeah.
I think
And
the
then
whole
that probably didn't help with
Yeah.
the point of teens wanting to change genders.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then maybe wanting to go back because they're not sure.
And it needs to be a space where there is freedom to explore those things. Like, kids should be able to be like, I don't know, like, what my sexuality is. I don't, to
Well,
some extent.
I've
but
seen
I think,
stories of people who've transitioned and then detransitioned.
Yeah.
Sure.
And here's the thing too, that of course no one's gonna in the fear of being transphobic, no one's gonna argue against is I think Jonathan Van Ness took some very hard stances that I don't necessarily agree with at times.
Right.
Like Dax Shepard brought up this idea of he's like, whoa, like you're telling me that because this is how the whole conversation started because Jonathan said something about the New York Times and Dax said, well, like the New York Times is a liberal news news station.
True.
And Jonathan said, no, they're not because they've supported, they've published op-eds and supported things that are against trans people and for people who are against trans rights. And that's how the whole thing started of like, okay, well, if you're, and Dax Shepard brings up this point of like,
okay, but
if
it is a
if I
liberal
support you in 9 out
news
of the
outlet.
10, but I have a different opinion on the 10th one, does that negate all the other 9 that I
Yeah.
support you in?
Right.
And
Right.
that's where Jonathan Van Ness brings up this like you can have transphobic ideology and not
And not be transphobic.
yeah, and not say I'm transphobic, but like that's at the end of the day what you're doing.
But
so,
then,
yeah, like
but
that's
what?
your whole.
But what good is that to the conversation? Like being like, well, you can't. There's no opinion there because you have to check your freaking biases at the door. It's like,
No, I think he was
Okay.
saying, I think it was more because I think the conversation really just like accidentally kind of happened.
right.
I think that was more Dax Shepard being like, whoa, like no, like I agree with you. 9 out of 10. I
Yeah.
have a different opinion on the 10th, but like I'm still on your side. And Jonathan Van Ness is like, no, you're not on my side.
Yeah, he took it hard.
That's what I'm saying is like that's a non-starter. Now, to what you're saying about like the conversation, like I shouldn't have to have a conversation about like it's your livelihood. Like I don't get to decide like what you get to do with your life, right? But it's a non. If we're opening a conversation, if we're opening like a space where people can share their opinions and have a podcast. I mean, the podcast got posted, obviously. So
Right.
their PR people said, yeah, this is good, like signed off on it.
Yeah.
So
Well, that's the thing that's the reason we're talking about it today. The topic we cover.
Yeah, of
You know what I'm
course.
saying? Like,
Yes.
And
we'll link those
but
episodes
But
below.
the interesting part about this scenario is, having these public conversations. And like Annie was saying, Dax was clearly like kind of bringing up this viewpoint as a pseudo devil's advocate to
Sure.
kind of have a good conversation and debate. And
which
yet
is what he does.
ta-
He's a podcaster.
And yet he's now taking all this fire from the trans community and obviously Jonathan Van Ness' very strong community that he's cultivated through social media and influence. And is that warranted? I don't know, right?
I guess I don't know either. I mean, like, when does your opinion, well, we kind of have had that
Right.
conversation too. When does your opinion, like, lose its value as, like, well, I'm just, like, speaking my mind and I'm trying to, like, hash this out as a person? Like, how much of that should you do in a spotlight? And how much of that should you do, like, one-on-one with Jonathan, over coffee? Like, hey, here's what I think about this. Like, what do you think about it? And, like, you
That's
know.
what makes it interesting, though. Just put it on the public eye.
And we're in a generation, obviously, the past 20 years, maybe longer, of we love to take our opinions and our everything and put it all, for the world to see on the news, on the internet, on social media, like it's all there.
The radio.
I think it is something that is touchy. I mean, obviously, that's the reason we're talking about this subject is Dax and Monica and their podcast is now taking this huge, influential hit, so to speak, on the social media about people are kind of coming after them now. But I think it's important that we have these conversations when done properly, obviously. In this scenario, it clearly was something that was not properly set up, and there was a lot of emotions and feelings.
Now, I think you get maybe a little more honesty there, a little more truth in that moment of maybe they were pressed to say something, but then in those times that you're trying to think of what you're saying, work out what you're saying in the moment, you end up saying something stupid, or you end up saying something you don't mean,
and
or you're taken the wrong way.
Should your podcast, in Dax Shepard's case, should it suffer?
Should we go to the gallows for it?
It's
I don't know.
I don't think so.
Right.
I think this is kind of where
What, you didn't like the gallows for that one?
Yeah, that was interesting.
Should my head be on a pike for something I said? No,
I think it's
I don't
important
feel
to
that way.
have conversations like that. I think nowadays listen, we're on a podcast and we have had times in our 149 episodes where we've cut things, said things and thought, it's probably a little.
And I
insensitive,
can't wait for the supercut of when the show gets famous. The people that go back and
just totally
just get us. You know,
the
absolutely.
best part is going to be the supercut of how many times you say canceled.
Yeah.
Canceled.
Canceled. Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And by the way, canceled.
Annie, I've kind of taken over. I'm sorry, but
No,
that was the
good.
point of this conversation. What do you think? I want your thoughts on it.
I think the world is opinion. That's the basis of everything.
Sure.
And we can say it's fact right now, and then it will form that we find new facts.
Yep.
And then what was fact is now opinion again. And I think it's just so hard because it's it isn't. There have always been trans people.
Yeah.
Always. We can pretend like there hasn't. It's a new dilemma, whatever. But there always has been, and the fact that we're now the fact that this is now uncharted territory of how do we give people rights? It's crazy because we've had this time and time and time again. I think of 2015 when we finally gave the right to marriage to gay people.
Yeah.
Really, that took us how many years to figure out? Okay, what about women's voting rights happening?
They're not going away. If anything, we're going to learn more and more about these people, and like you said, we'll just change everything. The world will just change. So
Yeah, and
why does there have to be such a painful now? You know?
On the other side of that coin is we're moving in the right direction. I think that if Dax has this reach into this community of whatever, car people and a lot of very conservative people.
A different audience than Jonathan.
Yeah,
Van
than
Ness.
Jonathan. And if this can open up an opportunity for someone that wouldn't necessarily hear about that to hear about it, then having that conversation, even if his opinion isn't politically correct or woke or whatever, that's good. I'd rather hear his opinion because heck, maybe his opinion reflects someone I know or mine or something, and I go, oh my gosh, and if he can take what Jonathan is saying and understand that, and have a malleable mind and be okay, well, maybe I agree with this and I don't agree with that, but thank you for teaching me about this because I hadn't thought of it from that perspective. Maybe I can think that too, or someone I know can think that. I think the whole idea of freedom of speech is that we have the freedom to have different opinions and talk about them, and so we can't just keep freaking killing people for. Well, you shouldn't be killing people anyway. Stop murdering.
Word.
Murder.
Stop.
And that's
Stop
something we can all agree on.
Wow.
Are you killing the conversation?
No.
Murder.
Murder. But I'm just saying, we need to stop alienating people, sending people, as Ryan would say, to the gallows for having different opinions. This is so stupid.
Yeah.
That's the whole point of the internet.
I think not
we
that
can
there's
say
any
things.
perfect actionable, way out of this particular scenario, but I think it would be interesting. I want to hear what Jonathan Van Ness thinks now post podcast. And
Yeah.
I looked, and he hasn't really commented on it, which I'm like, that would be the piece, right? Like if Jonathan Van Ness feels like, okay, it was a conversation like that was uncomfortable, but maybe necessary. Like I expect him to come out and like say that, you know?
It sounds like it's not that though. It sounds like he is tired of having to have that conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, like, and
I, would
I
be
get
surprised
it. Like,
if he doesn't comment on it.
if
at all.
I kind of understand where he's coming from. Like, if I had to continually like answer for myself,
Sure.
you know, if I was constantly under fire, not just like by my friends and family, well, maybe my family more than my friends, but like, and the media and at times like our presidential elect and like whatever, you know, I would probably be exhausted too. And then when somebody's like, well, actually, what do you think about my opinion on this? I think you shouldn't be able to play sports, and especially not the kids. I'd be like, okay, like, can I just get a break? Like, can I please just be myself and not have to be like under such scrutiny for being there's plenty of things to scrutinize, and like one's whole being is kind of like a lot, you know?
It's an impossible scenario. Like
Yeah.
you said. And like he even said in the conversation, which we mentioned earlier, you know, he is still not really sure where he lands and the transitioning thing. So it's like, it is hard, but when you bill yourself as that type of activist, like you like that, it's unfair, but it's kind of the gig, right? Like when you go out there and you bill yourself as an activist in this specific spectrum, people are going to want to talk to you about it.
And they're going to say things you don't like.
You know, and so I get it. It's like an impossible scenario because again, he's personally like going through it. So and he obviously is not going to stop being an activist for something that's so close, near and dear to him. But you know,
I'm not trying to say like I get where he's coming from or like I know what it's like. But I've been in the situation where people like will be like, "Oh yeah, us big girls, right?" And I'm like, or they're like, "Annie, like how do you do?" I'm like, I'm not the advocate for girls who are
you talking to me?
plus size or over a size like 12. Like that's not my role. And then, like I think of it this way of like, okay, like if every time like John, like what if you were the advocate just for existing? Every time anyone's like, well, you know, like
what do you have to say
people
about
with
it?
a lot of hair shouldn't have rights.
Yeah, I mean, if I build myself as the activist for that particular cause, then yeah, I guess like yes, it would suck, but like that's what you signed up for, kind of thing.
It's hard because it's like at some point,
it's any characteristic people are expecting you to stand up for.
Like just because you're filed in that category and you have a voice or like a like an elevated status, they like automatically are like, well, you're gonna be
what do you have
for the
to say
people,
about
right?
this? Yeah.
And maybe like I look at Caitlyn Jenner and I'm like, okay, well, Caitlyn Jenner was there for 2 seconds and then started saying stuff, and they're like, not her. We
not our advocate.
Nope.
We
she ended up being like a huge Trump supporter, right?
Yeah, she's like
Isn't
actually
that crazy?
problematic.
So
She's
crazy.
conservative still, I think.
Hey, listen, and that just points to you of like it's not a liberal agenda.
What's that?
No, yeah, I mean, I see what you're saying, and I think for people who aren't, like I said, if you're not billing yourself as super passionate about something in the way that like Jonathan Van Ness clearly has in the past, I think it's unfair for people to come to like just because they see something about you or they know something about you, come to you and expect you to defend it. I think in this scenario, it's like hard, and I feel for him. You know, like I said, it's his life, and that sucks. But again, the fight is every day. And so some days it's hard and some days it's easy. And I think he obviously has a lot more hard days probably than most because he's this advocate.
Yeah.
But the reality is like when you're an
signed up for it.
advocate, you kind of you have to take that. You know.
But there's also what Annie's saying, like a fair amount of undue like people bringing you to task. Like even like
you just happen to live your truth.
Everybody's got a family member that like is conservative and knows that like you're liberal leaning and feels like that is an opportunity to be like, well, what do you think of this? Can you believe this? Those liberals, you freaking liberal. And I'm like,
it's hard because
I'm not
he literally put himself on a show helping others.
Yeah,
like you're just so in the spotlight.
That's kind of was my initial reaction is like, why'd you go on the podcast?
But then it's like it's a job.
Yeah,
Word.
Like
that's true.
Sure. Yeah.
he does. I'm
Go ahead.
pretty. I shouldn't say. I'm pretty sure that one of his podcasts in his network is about trans rights and like fighting for trans rights. So then it's like, okay, yeah, well, you're
That's a job.
It's a question. You know?
yeah,
It's going to be a
signed
question.
yourself up for it now.
And again, nobody's saying it's easy. I'm not saying he should have a right answer or he should be ready to talk about it at the drop of a hat. But, you know, when you're on a podcast promoting something and a show like Armchair Expert,
I imagine it would come up
Right.
in conversation.
you know,
Do you think because we have a podcast that we're advocates?
For what? For people with
Podcasting?
podcasts?
We're not being
I
paid.
don't know. Kara for actors,
Okay.
me for big girls,
I
the
didn't say it.
community, John for hairy people, and Ryan for fuck arounds.
I always, now, if I'm anything, I'm an advocate for fuck arounds.
you are.
Dang.
What'd you just
Kara
say?
No, I didn't say anything. What did you say?
No.
What?
No.
I'm exhausted. I'm exhausted having to defend fuck arounds.
No.
We want to thank Texas Roadhouse.
We are not advocates for
That's right.
Texas
Oh,
Roadhouse.
we are sponsored on this show by Texas Roadhouse. We thank you for all the roles.
Did you eat there tonight?
No,
Oh.
But we're
surprised.
going to.
we're going to. We're going to
Later-
get a sweet treat
later
over
tonight.
at
Texas Roadhouse. And thank you to our Patreon supporters, subscribers,
Almost didn't come out there.
supporters.
Patreon supporters.
Guys, for $4 a month, you can head over to our Patreon. You can support us, and big things in the works in the next few months for old What the Podcast, which I just realized we probably got to record that after this. That's an off the show
Okay,
thought
all
that I
right,
just had.
all right.
Let's wrap this up here. On the couch as always, Cara Tafolla, Annie the Skovmand. I'm Ryan.
I'm John.
And we'll see you next week on What the
You
Podcast.
guys are fired. Both of you are fired.
Do the thing. We do it every week.
It's not cool to not do it. Just
I
so you
did
know.
it. I literally
50% of the
tried to
people
sound
here
like
do
I
it.
did
So you're on the other
Kara
side of
didn't do
something,
it. Kara
land.
hasn't done it in weeks.
That's because I was gonna
She hasn't done it in weeks.
echo WT.